Hytale has been really fun and great, and it's just received its first update, but now that we've seen the game for ourselves, it's worth asking what is good about it, because really, Minecraft 2, that's what people were saying, but this is actually Minecraft 2, another game to hopefully test out fun ideas and improve the genre as a whole. And so with that said, let's go into this hole of things that I think that Minecraft can learn from Hytale, and indeed that the entire genre can learn from and improve with, because the very first thing is at the bottom here, and it is this sandstone ruins. I absolutely love this cave structure, and I think it's just one of those really simple ideas of what you can take from Hytale here, because there are so many underground structures. Some are properly formed, like this weird little catacomb, and some are more kind of freeform in the middle of the cave, but the underground generation has lots of medium-sized structures, which is wonderful for actually encouraging exploration. I went into a cave on day one and just kind of thought like, oh, there's not a lot going on here, really, it's not actually that worth considering. But after going in on future days, I found that there are some real cool gems inside of them, making it actually worth exploring. You don't necessarily find that on your first playthrough, but there is so many wild things for you to find here, and I love the way the cave generation is. I think that obviously the actual caves themselves can be much better in Minecraft, but the structures in Minecraft are seriously lacking. There's this big hole between, oh dear god, there's this big hole between the giant structures of the trial chamber, done excellently in Minecraft if I say so myself, and then the tiny structures like the monster room. And I think that really since literally the beta or even the full release, since the game came out, they haven't really spent any time working on this, which I think is a real shame. I also think it's a real shame that weapons haven't been played with. Yes, there are guns, and yes, there are even bombs. I think throwable TNT is a really fun idea personally, but I also think it's super fun. Okay, let's go in there. Okay. I also think it's really, really fun to have lots of different weapons, all with their own personality. I have been playing a lot of Minecraft where the way it works is like, yeah, obviously you just use the single weapon that is the best, the sharpness sword or whatever, and I think that that kind of pigeonholing of just there being one best weapon and maybe some flexibility in enchantments is something that you just don't really see here. There are lots of different weapons that all have their own pros and cons. Take this copper club for example. I really like it as a weapon, but it has no special ability. You can't charge that or do anything like that. However, the wooden fence has a special that looks like this, a kind of jump charge that uses stamina. The bone sword looks like this when you charge into people. Super, super satisfying. And then you've got the daggers, which are great for escapes and for parkour, because their special looks like this. As you can see, very, very cool. But also that can then be combined with a jump to look more like this. So let's say I want to get over this gap. I just have to time this right, and boom, look at that jump. Incredible. Actual reason and actual, you know, like a valid purpose behind me having multiple weapons on me is something I can really get down with, especially when it feels like it's skill-based. This is something that has been tested a little bit with wind charges. It's something that was tested a little bit with the spear and lunge, but I ultimately think that wanting to have different weapons on you at the same time is a good gameplay design goal, and they really succeeded in Hytale. I'm not going to kill the goblin. You know, I don't think I have any need to. I could talk about all sort of critiques like that, by the way. But instead, I'd like to bring up one of my favorite little quirks of this game, the whimsy of it. I think the whimsy is clear in the food, and although we could debate about the food system specifically, I'd like to talk about potions. Most of the potions in Hytale mirror that of any other game, including Minecraft, but there's some really fun whimsy potions that make you just go, yeah, that's cool by itself. So look at me right now. This is me. I'm a man with a top hat, blue hair, and blue skin. It's impossible to tell what you should take from me, but here is a potion I can take that turns me into a pigeon. That's so fun. Look at it. I'm a pigeon holding a pigeon potion. These are the sorts of things I really, really love. And technically speaking, there's no real gameplay attachment to this as far as I can tell. Like, I can't actually fly. If I try to, I'm going to take some damage, and ouch. Kind of regret doing that already, but I love the fact that I can now be a pigeon. I'm one block high and presumably will fit through gaps. These are the sort of silly things that I think are worth having in a brewing system, because you don't ever have to craft this potion if you don't want to. It doesn't have any real downside to anyone who doesn't, but for those who do, it's such a fun moment. Look how well it's put together with the pigeon holding the torch. For those who want to do it, this is great. And that's something I've got to say I really have liked so far. But to give an update, for those who want it, it's great, and I just think in a brewing system that has so many different theoretical paths, it's a shame that every single potion besides 2 is just add Neverwort and then add single ingredient. What if there were some fun combinations that didn't even necessarily have to feel OP, but felt fun to find and felt really cool when you discovered? I love that we have that from day one. And, you know, it's even more fun. There's a dog brewing one too. Yeah, I can become a dog if I want to. But the next thing I want to talk about is something I've been doing a little bit more since I first played creative for the sake of my video earlier this week, because I really enjoyed putting together... obviously, I haven't built something as good as this yet. This is the best possible build for creative. I can't ever approach the beauty of it, but what I have come to appreciate the beauty of is creative mode and how it works. What is this cow doing? Is it laying down on top of that? That's so cute. It looks so weird. But anyway, the important thing here is that, weirdly, I think creative mode here is so much better put together just immediately off the bat. And if you want to know my reason as to why, it's because creative mode has a lot of different attributes assigned to it by default, which can feel weird to certain players, but creative mode is fully customizable here. So the easiest example is no clip. By default, when you hit the ground, you don't go through it, and in Minecraft, there's a separate spectator mode for this. I think just having a button or a setting or something you can hit to simply no clip would be so much better. This is a cool way to look around the world, by the way, and it's weird that it's not there by default, but the same is also true for allowing NPC direction, which will then have mobs actually respond to you. I might be an all-powerful god, but now when I hit them, they care, and indeed, when I'm nearby them, they're going to run away. That is a surprisingly useful thing. I like that as just a little button you can press. Sometimes you're going to want that, and I love that we have it, but the same true is also for tool reach distance. If I want to, now I can have it that I can break blocks from so much further away. Again, just sort of basic quality of life features that really make a big difference. You might want to do the opposite, have tool reach 1, so you have to be directly on top of something. And although I don't know, wait, this is if I have a tool, not if I have the default creative range, it seems. But just having these be, you know, simply set up, to me seems like an obvious thing to do. But the most crazy one to me is the flight speed and movement inertia too. But the ability to actually change your move speed is incredible. Look how fast we can fly at 10. Ooh, really feels like we're in a game editing engine now, right? But even beyond just like, okay, this is cool to do, etc. Look how fast I can fly through the world and see it from underneath. By the way, fun fact, you can die even in creative, but as cool as it is to see the world like this, I think one of the things that's even cooler is the fact that actually you can use this to your advantage in both ways. You might think like, why ever have a lower speed? And the answer is because it makes for really cool shots. And if you're doing either cinematic stuff or even if you just want to see your world at a certain angle for trailers or whatever else. And so I love that as well as having a efficient game mode, an efficient way to scroll around like this, we've also got the ability to turn it down. You can just press F1 and you can turn down your speed multiplier while you're in the speed. You can also do the opposite and speed yourself up. Look at this, I've got like actual acceleration building here. Oh yeah, we are flying super fast now. And then I can do the reverse. I can slow myself down, and you can slow down below 1 being the default, meaning you can actually get really nice kind of, again, slow camera moving shots that previously you would have had to use a controller for. You can use your keyboard and mouse for this, and I just think that's so nice. Look at this. Look at that bird there. We can do a little nature documentary on him. Also, if you get annoyed at the slow speed, you can sprint back up to get to normal speed. But I just love that you can get these kind of more natural shots. And that's how I've got some of the things from this video. Look at that bird, just duck flying around. It doesn't look at all like how a duck does, but the world feels so alive. And I think one of the things that helps it feel alive for survival, if I can say so myself, is not just the structures and not just the tools, but also that little thing you just saw in the bottom right of my screen, memories. This is something that literally the moment I saw it, I was like, that's a cool mechanic, and I kind of fell in love with it, and it's kind of cool because it gives you a real incentive to explore, which I think that this game, you know, does have, it needs to work on, if I'm being entirely real with you. I think there are lots of ways the exploration could be improved, but knowing that when you find a new structure that has new mobs in it, or even if you're just going for a walk in the woods and you find something you've never seen before, like a moose, I've already seen these guys and oh, they do not like me apparently, but I love that when you find something for the first time, it feels like you've got like a Pokédex that you're filling. I think that... Oh, found a little generation bug here. I think that having a real... Well, you know, I think having a real sense of global achievement, a real sense of something that you are collecting, something you are doing, is really good personally. I think that having some global aims to go for is wonderful, and so whenever I play like an MMO or an RPG that has like, oh yeah, try and see 100% of this, I love having that as a goal of choice. In this game, I haven't come close to seeing all of the different enemies and memories, but I love that every time I go out into the world, I've got a reason to do that, and it even gives you a reason to return back to your nearest, like a base, and back to your nearest portal, because you want to go and return those things. Having extra value to your gameplay that you can create for yourself is done so simply here, and yet I love it a lot. Obviously, at this point, I do need to say that these are 5 great things that, Hytale does and that I think Minecraft should learn from. And, although I could do now the boring disclaimer and say, well, obviously they're different games and it's great that we do. I think I've done that enough, and there's going to be some people who hate it regardless, and that is for you, totally fine to do that. However, what I'd like to make the point with next, after recording my memories, is the fact that I think that outside of the 5 things that I think are great, there's some things that I think Hytale does weirdly that maybe other games should learn from, but that certainly are intriguing enough by themselves. Don't get me wrong, if we wanted to talk about explicitly bad, I could easily do that. I mean, the weird currency system for 1, the fact that the Portal Guardians are a lot weaker than even some ambient mobs for 2, the fact that there are friends that are, that there's people who aren't friends who are friend-shaped, obviously the foxes, why do they attack you? They look like they're meant to be your best friends. There's the fact that the inventory menu just looks so cluttered, it doesn't vibe right with me, and there's all sorts of other bugs of the world generation, but I choose to believe that all of those things will be fixed, and so let's talk about what is weird right after a word from our sponsor. Hello my friends, this video is brought to you by your public health system because many people are worried about microplastics and the impact they'll have on their life, but actually they're probably good for you, I don't know. But what is important is you need to worry about macroplastics, and the IBX ToyCat Creo card is a classic example of these. You'll find that inside it's wrapped in a plastic, a macroplastic, to make sure that it's untampered with. This is something you should not be eating, and inside of that you'll find that there actually is another polymer to protect your card from the elements, and even crazier, without having to make another purchase, you'll find yet more plastic inside of that to protect the card. This is bad, and if you want to avoid macroplastics, do not go to creocards.com/IBXToyCat. You might hear incentives like, oh, they're only going to be on sale for 2 more days, or they'll all be individually signed by ToyCat. Don't do it if you want to avoid macroplastics, because they are bad, and you should not eat them. Thank you. Stay safe. Okay, so the weirdest thing that I think that this game has in its DNA is this work in progress sign, the under construction sign, that you'll literally find right here from the main trader in the main dimension the game tries to get you to go to, but then also you'll find it on the ground if you try to go beyond this. If you haven't seen this yet, going to any of the other buildings in this dimension has a couple of Quebecs guarding a work in progress sign. By the way, I can't be the only one who finds it hilarious that these guys are called Quebecs, and Simon, the guy in charge of it, is from Quebec. Am I the only one? Anyway, the interesting thing here is that there's a bunch of these work in progress signs, and at first, a part of me was a bit annoyed. Like, the first structure I went into had these, and then the first dimension you go to has a bunch of these, and the game is filled with these kind of like semi-unfinished and showing you its unfinished areas. But then I realized that this effectively amounts to a roadmap that you can see inside of the game. There are lots of things that are actually surprisingly finished, in my opinion. We'll never get over how cool it is to jump at just the right time while doing this attack, by the way. But there's a lot of cool, there's a lot of things in this game that are explicitly unfinished, and on top of the fact that we have a very communicative developer, they actually do function as a way to let you know what is a real big target for them, and I love to see anything in a game that is like that. I think communicative developers are one of the reasons that Minecraft did so well in the early days, when we're talking about Notch and his blog, or developers just sharing things they're working on. I think that this is one of the major weaknesses we have now. We get an announcement that is very PR-ified from Mojang, instead of just hearing from a developer like, oh yeah, here's something I would like to work on this year. Obviously, we'll have to see how it goes, but this is where it's going to be. We would never get a building that says, like, yeah, at some point that will be something. The closest we have is the Ancient City Portal, and I think that that is a real shame that is addressed right here, and I think that's kind of cool. But the second thing that is just fascinating to me about this, that really not enough people are giving the game credit for, is that Hytale is an early access game. You are buying it in a pre-release form right now, But so many people have bought it in pre-release, and this is staggering when you think about it, because Simon just bought the game back from... got a very fun name for this world. Simon brought the game back from Riot after they spent over $100 million and then didn't release a game, and within 2 months releases this, right? By the way, here's something cool. You can actually mount horses with no saddles required, something I really like, although you have to catch the horse first. But I think one of the things that's really, really notable about this is that he managed to just get the game out there, and genuinely people are seemingly very happy with it, and we can tell that over 2 million people were playing at one time. That means 1 million of 2 million copies and a minimum of $20 each. That means the game made $40 million in 1 day, 2 months after buying it. That is an incredible feat by itself, right? Let's give some real credit to the community for wanting that. But also it shows the power of if you convince people there will never be a game unless it's early access is incredible. If Riot tried to release this to the world, if Riot had tried to, get this out there, people would have said, wow, 7 years and it looks like this. But instead, because it's someone else, because it's the founder, because it's someone passionate who's being very honest and open, you go, yeah, 2 months in and it looks like this. Insane. And I think that goes to show that, if Riot had released this, it would have been bad. It probably wouldn't have made anywhere near as much money. But when the founder releases it, all of a sudden we're talking about what might be very quickly a $100 million product. And I think that that's just so cool in its own little weird way. And so if there's one takeaway from this video, it's that weird thing about how many things, how much can be created out of thin air with just good marketing, I guess. And this game is a prime example of it, but yet I am still excited to see where it goes. I still will be playing it casually in the background. I'm not going to make the mistake of trying to tell you that this is a Hytale channel. I am, just like everyone else should be, looking at all of the Minecraft competitor games, and hopefully Mojang are doing the same, because our goal, and everyone's goal should be, regardless of if you're a Hytale fan, a Minecraft fan, or anything else, is to have the best genre possible with the best games possible, so that people can have the most fun game when they make their things in the blocky games. And I think that Hytale has a big modding focus. I think Hytale has a big modding focus that they're going to really excel at, because already it's oh so customizable. It has so many editor tools built in by default, like I mentioned, and I'm excited to see where this goes from here. Also, look at this. He should be my friend. Why aren't you being my friend right now? I'm not going to hurt you, and we're going to see how this one ends. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Go to creocards.com/IBXToyCat if you want some macroplastics, and otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. No, don't do it! Don't do it! And do not go to creocards.com/IBXToyCat if you value your health. There we go. That's good.